Good morning to the New York Medical College and the Touro College of Dental Medicine communities. Welcome to today's town hall. Over the last 8 days, you have received a campus communication regarding the college's stance on international events, 2 communications regarding the mental health and academic support services at your disposal to navigate the stresses of these events, and several campus communications from Public Safety Director Lancia explaining the steps our public safety officers are taking and those you can take to maximize personal and campus safety. I was away from campus last week on a long-promised trip with 4 of our 5 grandchildren. For those of you with grandchildren, you will readily appreciate that one does not tell 3 to 8-year-olds that the expected trip to see Mickey Mouse has to be postponed because Grandpa says something came up. Now that I'm back, there are several topics I wish to touch upon this morning in reference to current events. I want to speak directly with you about it. If time permits, I will then turn my attention to some campus news, and we may have time for a few typed-in questions before classes resume at 12:15 p.m. Responding to the terrorist attacks in Israel, President Biden told the world last week that the murders and hostage-taking perpetrated by Hamas was, quote, an act of sheer evil, close quote. The president described, quote, stomach-turning reports of parents butchered, babies being killed, entire families slain, and women raped, assaulted, and paraded as trophies, close quote. The elderly and children have been taken as hostages. It is hard for many of us to watch the news or read the newspapers and encounter graphic video depictions of these atrocities, many posted by Hamas. We have witnessed the worst single-day mass murder of Jews since the Holocaust. We all, I think, look at things through the lenses of our experiences and our personal histories. And for me, looking through my lens, a modern-day pogrom has taken place. Many leaders of American higher education have issued strong statements in response to these terrorist attacks. On Sunday night, immediately after the conclusion of the Simchas Torah and Shmini Atzeret observances, you received a communication from the president of Touro University, Alan Kadish. The message represents my views, and I had a small hand in its preparation. The message stated in part, quote, now is the time for all decent people everywhere to unite against evil and terror, to unite in faith in the goodness of humanity, and to unite in our collective ability to overcome adversity. Touro University is proud to stand with the people of Israel, close quote. The president of the University of Florida, Ben Sass, has condemned equivocation and written, quote, many people in elite academia have been so weakened by their moral confusion that when they see videos of raped women or learn of a grandmother murdered in her home, the first reaction of some is to provide context and try to blame the raped woman, the dead baby, or the murdered grandmother, close quote. Some people have asked me if I was going to issue yet another written statement. We do not need, in my opinion, multiple individual campus leaders of the Touro system issuing multiple statements. The president of Touro University has issued a statement. We are part of Touro University. We are the largest university under Jewish auspices in the United States. Our statement is clear and it is unequivocal. It has no moral confusion. quote, "Now is the time for all decent people everywhere to unite against evil and terror, to unite in faith in the goodness of humanity, and to unite in our collective ability to overcome adversity. Touro University is proud to stand with the people of Israel," close quote. The President of the United States has made his views clear regarding an act of sheer evil. As individual citizens, you all have the right to form your opinion. As a university, our views are expressed by the president of the university as authorized by the Board of Trustees. As the old song asks, which side are you on? Well, we have made our position very clear, and it is longstanding. And I am proud to work at a college where part of our college investments are in State of Israel bonds. When Americans were killed or captured by the Barbary pirates, bombed by a sneak attack at Pearl Harbor, subjected to terrorist attacks on 9/11, and when English citizens were bombed in their homes by the Luftwaffe, and the Falklands were captured by a cabal of jackbooted Argentinian fascist generals, neither the American nor the British people, whether we were led by Thomas Jefferson or Franklin Roosevelt or Winston Churchill or Margaret Thatcher, raised a white flag and asked for terms. I can tell you as a historian that just like now, there were a few people after each event who, quote, wanted to provide context. But most Americans and most Britons, however, decided, you started it. Now it'll be over when we say it's over. Israel's elected government has the same imperative and the same obligation to protect its citizens. Our extensive team of campus safety experts throughout the Touro system, in consultation with professional law enforcement, have identified no credible threats to campus safety. We will be vigilant. We will all exercise common sense about wearing our badges, closing doors behind us, and using our key cards. But New York Medical College, we will be calm, we will be sensible, and we will go about our business of the generation and conservation and dissemination of knowledge about the causes, prevention, and treatment of human disease and disability. We will take care of our patients. We will do our research. We will teach. We will not let the terrorists terrorize us. We just won't. As took place on Thursday on the lawn outside of Avery and Alumni House, and has taken place regularly, we will say our prayers in whatever faith tradition we follow, and we will respect the faith traditions of others. I have received a number of queries in which members of our campus community object to social media postings by, as best as I can judge, about 3 members of the student body. I have read these postings. Citizens have a constitutionally protected right to freedom of speech, and we will respect that right. New York Medical College and Touro University, however, have social media policies. New York Medical College's social media policy is a matter of public record, and it is readily found online. Let me also, therefore, be clear. We will respect the constitutional rights of free speech, but we will also enforce our social media policy. Social media postings which violate our policies will be dealt with. The postings by these few members of the campus community are either celebrating and supporting the terrorist actions of Hamas last Saturday or opposing them while sending images of victims. As I said, there is a constitutionally protected right of free speech, what the authors of these postings have, and which we will respect as long as they are within our social media policy. But I wish to be clear this morning. The people doing these postings are not the only ones who have the right to free speech. I have it also, and now I'm going to exercise it. People are in mourning. Nobody wants to read social media postings which either say, in essence, I can justify why your friends and relatives were murdered, or I insist that you look at images you don't want to look at. Would you feel comfortable going to class or being on the wards with a classmate who does things like that? In the New York Times over the weekend, one person was quoted, quote, "We need some time to grieve, and that grief has a legitimacy, and grief has a right to exist. And sometimes we're so quick to go to the but part that we negate the opportunity to grieve, which might be a place for coming together in grief. If we feel we could just have a moment of grief, we might not have to be so polarized about it," close quote. So, to the people who receive these inappropriate images, you have a right to grieve, and you are perfectly justified in blocking social media postings from people you don't want to hear from. For those who posted these comments and images, and I hope you're listening this morning, do you really think you should walk into a funeral and tell the mourners that it's either all the fault of the deceased, or to tell the mourners you want to put pictures in front of them of the deceased that they don't want to see? Do you really think your classmates will have any interest in associating with you after this kind of behavior? Don't you think people have a right to grieve? I will conclude my response to these postings by repeating a comment made to me years ago by the then president of Duke University, Richard Broadhead. "You know," he said, "one of the things that free speech does for us is that when people write or say or post tasteless, unfeeling, and insensitive things, everyone gets to see that they're insensitive, ill-mannered, and tone-deaf." Members of New York Medical College, the Jewish people have survived Amalek and the persecutions of the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Persians, the ancient Greeks, the Roman Empire, the European slaughters during the Black Death of the 13th century, and the 11th to 13th century Crusades, the 17th century pogroms of Chemaliki, and the 19th and 20th century pogroms of the Tsar Alexander III and Tsar Nicholas, and the 20th century Holocaust of Hitler and his willing henchmen. The Jewish people will survive this modern day pogrom. We will. Turning now to some campus news since we're together. You have read and in touch of the appointments of new department chairs in rehabilitation medicine and in the schools of health sciences and practice. We have a new Hinterbuckner Chair of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation in the School of Medicine, and we welcome them. We have, of course, welcomed Dean Ludmer and Dean Schluger to their new positions in the School of Medicine. I have received letters of acceptance for 3 of our 4 invitations for commencement speakers for May 2024. When the 4th is confirmed, I will make an announcement of all of them. Indeed, we already have a commencement speaker booked for May of 2025, a Nobel laureate. So stay tuned for news. In the School of Medicine, we have ongoing searches for the chairs of urology, medicine, pediatrics, and ENT. Doctors Amar, Holtz, Thompson, and Kadish will speak tomorrow at the ribbon cutting for the renovated laboratories. I look forward to seeing you in person at the event. And we all look forward later this month to another successful Founders Dinner. Don't forget to buy your tickets. Don't forget to congratulate our award recipients, Professors Pravitz and Dr. Rosenthal. And please leave some of the little hot dogs and puff pastries for me at the hors d'oeuvres. The 104th Psalm prays for a day when, quote, "the wicked shall be no more," close quote. May it come speedily in our days. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning on relatively short notice, and I wish everybody a good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in.